You Bet Your Life.
Kev, give me the money.
All righty.
$5,000.
Boosting the economy
You seriously asking me this question, Jay? Coney Island. What are we doing over here?
every weekday.
Kev, give me that money. Oh, yeah. I'm going to give it to you like an Italian uncle. Here you go. You get yourself a little something there. There you go. Right there.
Weekdays at 3:30 p.m.
Somebody has to stand up for victims.
Detective Stabler, my partner, Detective Benson.
It took a lot of courage to get up on that stand.
She's not gonna ever be able to hurt you again.
I promise you, I'll protect you.
Weekdays at 12 p.m. You're watching WDAY Extra. Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Monday morning. This is the best week of the year edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. We have reached the final full week of April. Things have crested in the area in terms of the water. The sun is out. It's draft week. What else can you say, folks? It's a great time of year. Welcome, everybody, to a new week at our show. Welcome to Hot Mike. Hope everybody had a tremendous weekend. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show. Good to be back with everyone here on a Monday in anticipation of one of our favorite weeks of the sports calendar and what to anticipate we have coming up on Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday. For people that follow that and follow the draft, it is a large deal. For those that don't and don't understand the hubbub or the hullabaloo that goes around literally someone coming up to a podium and saying a name, I understand the skepticism or just how it goes over their heads. It's okay. It's not everything is for everybody, but for the rest of us nerds, it's a great week. And those of us that love professional football and college football, it all culminates here. And I think the best way to describe it is hope. It is hope for those that believe that maybe this is the year that they can see their dreams realized as a fan base. When you look at how things have materialized in the NFL, the way it works, it is not like baseball. It's not like basketball. It's not like hockey, where you can build a team, outspend everybody, and be good. Football doesn't allow for that. Football does allow for the poor teams to get better more quickly if you are able to draft well, and before you know it, you can be like the Cincinnati Bengals and go from a team that was an afterthought to a potential team that can win the Super Bowl. That's the allure of what Thursday, Friday, and Saturday brings. And that's why I think it gets the attention that it does and gets the amount of highlight that it does for what's to come this week. So we will launch full into that. Of course, we're going to have our mock draft show coming up on Thursday. We've done that in years past. That tradition will continue. We've got a really special end of the week coming up on Friday that we're really pumped up about, and we'll lead you up through that with guests pertaining to the draft and all sorts of stuff this entire week on the show. So buckle up for that. We are excited for that. Now, that's not the only thing going on. As we're well aware, we are the midst of the playoff runs for both the Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Timberwolves. That the playoff predicament will continue at least for another day after what happened last night, which we're going to show you here in a second. I will say, after taking an informal poll yesterday, because I was curious about this, especially with the ongoing Bally nightmare that it is for people locally to try and watch the games, that I was curious if people were watching the national broadcast or the local cable or broadcast outlet for the game, since all the games now are either on ESPN or TNT or TBS, how viewers are watching it. More over than 60% of the poll I took yesterday, and we got, over 400 votes on it, had them watching the national broadcast, which I will admit I have done that for the Timberwolves, but not for the Wild. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I'm not a huge fan yet of TNT or Turner's hockey coverage. I enjoy ESPN's hockey coverage. So when the Wild have been on there, I've watched that. And for the Wolves, I don't need Bally's sunshine approach to how the Wolves played. I really enjoy it. Plus, if the games are on TNT and I get to hear Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, or Shaquille O'Neal destroy the Wolves, which they have earned, I will watch that. And I did that last night. So with that said, they had plenty to talk about last night. Game 4, Target Center, rocking for the Nuggets and the Wolves. Minnesota entered down 3-0. They had to win last night in a game that, frankly, they played their way out of it and played their way back into it. We'll show you what happened in a crazy game last night at Target Center, which Anthony Edwards, if he hadn't arrived already, he did last night. And late in the fourth quarter, this game was over. They were up 12 with the Wolves. But Denver responded with a run. You see a Michael Porter 3. That made it a 3-point game. Jokic here with a turnaround that was fabulous. Cuts the lead to 1. Now here late in the fourth quarter, Gobert gets blocked out low. And right here, every Minnesota fan they're going to lose this game. They were up 13, and they're going to lose the game. Towns is called for a foul here. He complains about every foul call. This is a legit call on Jokic. But he does him a solid, misses 1 of 2, so it's tied at 96. Ant can't even get a shot off here. And somehow, what was a 12-point Minnesota lead, the game goes to overtime. In OT, Nickeil Alexander-Walker was fantastic here on the lob down low. Gobert scores, ties the game up. After that, as you look again, these two work well before Towns foul out of the game. Alexander Walker was sensational. Down 1, corner 3, swishes that, puts the Wolves up 2. Next possession down. He's in the same spot again. Spots up, drills another one. Back-to-back threes. The Wolves are up 5 at that point. It's still a 5-point lead. Shot selection still in overtime was iffy. Jokic with the home run pass to Jamal Murray. Cuts it to 3. Wolves don't get anything out of this possession. Jokic scores again. He had 43 last night. He was great. Now to a 1-point game. You got to give it to your superstar, and Edwards delivers, knocks down the step-back 3. That was the dagger with 11 seconds left, and the Timberwolves pull away and beat the Nuggets 114-108 in overtime to get on the board in the series. I had not known this stat. They kept throwing this around during the broadcast last night that the Wolves had never been swept in a series. That will stay true for at least another year. And the Nuggets had never swept anybody in a series, as they will force a Game 5. 34 points for Edwards last night. Conley, 19-8. Towns fouled out after his double-double. Jokic, what else do you say about him? 43 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. He was fantastic in a game that Denver looked like they were not interested in, then they were interested in, and then they came back and won the game as you look at the scores from the other games last night. Before we get to that, let's hear from the Timberwolves after the game. Here's Anthony Edwards and Chris Finch on the win.
Like all the work I put in is just Timberwolves did a great job this summer of putting the right people around me. Also, my trainer back home, Kier Jordan. I mean, we was C. Hines. We was working, man. So like, it's just showing, and I'm thankful, man. And I'm gonna continue to work. I wasn't passing the ball. I was taking a shot. I was gonna live with whether I lost us the game or, we won. And I ended up hitting the shot, but. Man, like I said, man, it's all Nikhil, big shots in the overtime. Mike Conley, big shots. Rudy, my teammates played great tonight, man. I know on the stat sheet it looked like I had a exceptional game, but they won a game for us.
Afraid of those moments, at this point in time, some guys, you see what they're made of. They can shy away from it. He certainly doesn't. It was a great bounce back shot after the end of regulation. I know he felt bad about that, but he was on to the next play, guarded, rebounded, did a lot of the little things, too, down the stretch that were important.
Tremendous game there from Edwards. And I mentioned this, and I'm not the only one, that however this goes, if they make it back to Minneapolis for a game 6, which would be Friday, if it ends tomorrow night, they need to blow it up and build around number 1. It's as clear as crystal there. I whatever experiment they had, and I know Cat missed 4 months of the season, so you don't have a true result or a good baseline of what it is with Towns and Gobert on the floor together, but they still don't play any defense. That was their best defensive game last night. They were able to shut down the rest of the Nuggets. Jokic is going to do what he does, but for the most part, the Wolves, I thought, defensively had their strongest game of the series. Murray was held to 19 after Friday night, where they went crazy in that game. That was by far their best defensive performance. Now, does that give them a reprieve of what will happen beyond either Tuesday or Friday, however long this series will go? I don't believe so. I think they have enough input here to make some decisions personnel-wise. Now, the bigger question is, who will take Cat's monster deal? Who's going to take – you know what I mean? Like, it's real easy here on a Monday morning after they win to say they still have to blow this up and build around Anthony Edwards. A lot harder thing to do with trying to pawn those contracts off on somebody. But we get one more game at least to the Timberwolves. That will come up tomorrow night in Denver, and the Nuggets are going to bring everything they can. I'll just say this. Edwards' last 3 games have been phenomenal, starting even with the Game 2 loss in Denver, right? The game log, just look at the last – Game 1, he wasn't good. 41 in Game 2, 36 on Friday, 34 last night. Now, the second youngest to have, I think it is 5 or 6 30-point games in the history of the NBA. Tied Kobe Bryant for that. The guy's 21. Got to remember that, too, of how raw he still is. Was 3 years into the league. But we get one more game at least for the Wolves. For the Minnesota Wild, they played yesterday as well. Finally, an earlier start. 5:30 at Xcel Energy Center, and they had a chance for history. Never in the history of the Wild had they ever gone up 3-1 in a series. They had a chance to do that yesterday against the Stars after a game on Friday night where they just dominated. Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa there to do the Let's Go Hockey chant. This game was going to be defined about the penalties or lack thereof. Marcus Foligno was called for a penalty there. What it results in, the Dallas Stars scoring there on a Tyler Seguin score down low to beat Philip Gustafson, who became the first goal to start 2 straight games in this series. He should have been starting every game in this series. The Stars build a 2-0 lead. John Klingberg, former Star, scores here off a deflection, cuts it to a 2-1 game. Controversial play here. Foligno going for a check on Mason Marchment, misses, and is called for tripping here. It's an awful call. Nobody liked the call. Derided everywhere. resulted in a Stars power play, and you can figure what happened there because Dallas is fantastic on the man advantage. Sagan scores in the slot and a perfect pass. That makes it 3-1, just over the glove of Gustafsson. He got a piece of it. The Wild, though, would get another marker here on a Freddie Gaudreau score to make this 3-2 as they had pulled the goalie. They got one last chance here in the dying seconds of the game on this play right there. That's all you want is a chance for Marcus Johansson, but it's denied there, and the Stars beat Minnesota 3-2 and even up the best of 7 at 2 games apiece. I can't play you the interview after the game that Foligno gave because it's filled with 4-letter words, but you can interpret like you'd want how they thought of this, even for Dean Evison, that he said, everyone saw the game. I'm not going to comment on what the refereeing was. Those are 2 terrible calls. And granted, that I don't think the refereeing was good on either side. I think Dallas got called for a penalty as well that wasn't one. But the Stars are able to get the win, and in the process now have evened this up at 2 games apiece and a chance for Minnesota to really put the hammer down. As you see there, we mentioned it going to the highlights. They've never held a 3-1 lead in their history. They've been down 2-rip. We know they've been down 3-1 and rallied. They did that 20 years ago in that great 2003 run to the Western Conference Final. But now they're going to have to win another game in Dallas if they want to advance. I know they won game 1 in double overtime, but boy, if you got yesterday, then you've got a chance to put the hammer down, knowing you only need 1 of the final 3 to move on. Instead, now they know they're going to have to win a game in Dallas to keep this series to go in their favor. They will play game 5 of that series coming up tomorrow night. So, again, the playoff programming predicament will continue on since the Wild and the Wolves will play at the same time again. Not starting at the same time, at least. Tomorrow night, everybody, it's a 7 o'clock start. 7 o'clock for game 5 and 8 o'clock for the Wolves. We can stay up to the end of it, at least. Might be the end of the Wolves season, but at least we'll stay the end of it. But that was the games yesterday to get us off on rolling on this busy week. Fun show today. Jeff Kolpak will be by at his usual 9:35 time slot. We'll put a bow on NDSU spring ball, get his thoughts on where the Bison are at in a couple positions. If you watched our coverage on Saturday of the final practice, thought some illuminating stuff there. We'll show you some video of that. If you missed it, you can watch the full rebroadcast of it. It's available right now at Inforum.com. That's coming up at 9:35. Tyler Roll will join us, NDSU offensive coordinator, at 10 o'clock. He's already back on the road recruiting for the class of 2024, but we'll get his thoughts on what he saw from spring ball and for a big week for a couple of his guys that he used to coach, including Hunter Lipke and Cody Mauch. No, he has ties to both of them, with Lipke, a guy he coached for 5 years, Cody being a fellow North Dakotan like Tyler. Draft week is always a big week for Mr. Roll, who got a chance to go to Indianapolis and see these guys in person. We'll visit with Tyler coming up at 10 o'clock. That and a heck of a lot more here on our show this morning, including saluting one of the all-time greats in North Dakota high school history. We're going to do that as well as Hot Mike is off and rolling. We'll do that when we return right after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
Next, ET.
You, the whole team at ET, you've been amazing for us.
We're with an emotional James Corden. His final week of shows filled with star surprises and late-night fears.
I just don't want to become a meme. Do you know what I mean?
Plus, we're catching up with Nick Cannon.
I got my hands full.
Then, one-on-one with Carol Burnett, our flashback surprise for the comedy queen.
Oh, my heavens.
Next, ET.
Weekdays at 6:30 on WDAY WDAZ. When you need to stay informed, turn to the only name that matters, WDAY Storm Tracker.
The melt is on.
Cities are preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. Volunteers are hard at work. You can see people in the background there filling sandbags.
It is very important for people to get out and volunteer.
You can see the flooded ditches in the area.
Now, of course, we're keeping a very close eye on how this rain is going to impact flooding.
For full coverage, turn to the WDAY Storm Tracker team.
Subaru Crosstrek. Dog tested, dog approved. Love, it's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Check out the new Subaru models today at Muscatel Subaru.
You took my father. Somebody's going to pay for this.
There's no story more surprising than a real-life Dateline mystery.
Probably a pretty ugly crime scene.
Follow every twist and turn 5 times a week.
The chase is on.
With Dateline.
Weekdays at 1 p.m.
In this job, you take your eye off it for 1 second. People can die.
Don't think, just do it.
I'm a firefighter, and I will always be a firefighter.
Did a great thing today.
It's all because of you.
Weekdays at 7 p.m. and 12:05 a.m.
911, what is your emergency?
It takes a certain kind of person to run towards danger rather than run away from it.
Why is this job so important to you?
Growing up, I never saw any heroes who looked like me.
And that's what a hero looks like.
Help is on the way.
Sundays at 8 p.m.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in North Dakota. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the NDHSAA.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's. The truth is, Parkinson's disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them. Worldwide, over 10 million people are living with Parkinson's, a neurological disease that affects movement. And with so many places to search for information, it can be difficult to know where to begin. The Parkinson's Foundation has answers. Answers for everyone in the fight. We can help you understand the disease, help you find expert care, give you tips for living a better life, share the latest research, help you find local support, and there's a free helpline you can call. Find your answers and join us in the fight against Parkinson's. To learn more, please go to parkinson.org or call 1-800-4PD-INFO. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
I like that. A little best of the weekend intro to get us ready and rocking and roll. Let's do it here. We'll start with some news that actually just came down this morning. We could still count it the best of the weekend. Let's roll the music, boys, and salute our guy, Connor McGovern. Pride of Fargo, Missouri Tiger, and he's staying with the New York Football Jets. The Jets actually announced it about a half hour ago that the Shanley grad has re-signed and we'll be back with the Jets. He has played there the last couple of years. We had him, remember, in studio last year. He was the only player on offense for the Jets to take all 1,114 snaps in 2022. He played every single offensive play for a team that was, frankly, awful on offense. He's the, the first Jet to play every offensive snap in a season since Kelvin Beachum and Brian Winters both did it in 2018. Which tells you, again, the kind of inconsistency the Jets have had up front. 3 years in New York as the starting center, and now, as we have entered NFL Draft Week, the really intriguing part about it for big old number 60 is who he's going to snap the ball to. Because I think we're all of the mindset it's not going to be Zach Wilson that he's snapping the ball to. And it could be by Friday night, he could be snapping it to Aaron Rodgers. I have to imagine that was probably appealing for why he wanted to come back and play in New York. But Connor McGovern is back. He will be a Jet. Congratulations to him. Of course, we know what he's done back here in his hometown with the Able games. And one of my all-time favorite athletes I haven't had a chance to cover has nothing to do with the fact that he plays with my favorite team. I've known him since he was a sophomore in high school. So to see him continue his NFL career, he was in that same draft class, people forget, in 2016 with Carson Wentz and Joe Haig. McGovern was there when he got drafted by the Broncos in 2016. Spent the first 4 years of his career there, and now into his 8th year in the NFL. Pretty cool stuff there. Congratulations to Connor on getting a 3rd NFL contract. We'll keep the theme with football. We are your home for the XFL, as you well know. And Darius Shepard's ridiculous XFL season, unfortunately, came to an end this weekend in the bizarrest of rules in the XFL. But Shep did it again. This a 34-yard reception in the St. Louis game on Saturday afternoon. I know everybody was watching on Saturday afternoon against Orlando. He has been really, really good all season long. Capped off by this. Look at this one-handed catch in the end zone for a touchdown. St. Louis beat Orlando that day. 53-28 was the final. Shepard had 6 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. But his team's season is over because Seattle won yesterday, and they had the tiebreaker over St. Louis. I don't know how this works, folks, but honestly, there's only 4 teams that make the XFL playoffs, and Seattle got the last spot. DC, Seattle made it, along with Houston and Arlington are the 4 teams that made the XFL playoffs. More importantly, think Shepard, I think, made some more money. I really do. Does that mean he's going to go right back into the USFL season? I don't know that. You remember he played for the New Jersey Generals last summer, and was great there. Got a free agent invite to the Broncos training camp because of what he did during the XFL or the USFL season. I don't know if that means he's going to get another crack there. I would imagine he probably wants a little bit of a break here before hopping into something, but gotta think he's going to get some sort of another look in the NFL. His ability there, he had a great run in the XFL. So congrats to him. We're working on actually getting him on the show maybe sometime this week to wrap what happened this season. Congrats to him. Lastly, shout out to one of the all-time greats in North Dakota high school coaching history. News became public this morning that I had heard for a little bit that potentially could happen, that St. Mary's high school football coach Dan Schmeeker is officially retiring after 45 years as the head football coach, 295 wins, 8 state championships, and he is stepping aside as the head coach of the Saints. There are few people that can be associated with one school, one place, one program, especially in the era we live in now, and this guy is it. My phone is blown up since I posted this and found out about it, because he's an institution. He really is. He won at every level possible. He's coached just an unbelievable amount of players that you will have heard of or know of, and even coaches that or players that you may not know that he's coached them as well. Just a little bit of response here after this came out from the Fargo Flash himself, Justin Kazemius. Of course, went on to play at the University of Minnesota. Always loved playing against him. What a run. Our buddy Rick Newman. Nobody has ever done it better. Smeeks gave me a chance to become a head coach, and I'm forever in his debt. I love that man. Bill Curl. You might know his kids. My kids both played on state championship teams for Schmeeker. Couldn't have asked for a better coach. We have been blessed. # Go Saints. Not sure what else you say to add on to that. I'm hopeful we're going to have him on the show maybe sometime later in this today or as early as tomorrow to salute what has been a legendary career. And you look at the players that he has coached. I mean, they always were prepared, and you knew exactly what was coming. You know, this wasn't a team that was going to go out and wing it 45 times a game. They were going to pound it, and they did it better than anybody. I mean, when we started televising the Dakota Bowl with the fall of 2013 was the start of this unbelievable run that they went on, that you could basically bank on it. We were going to see St. Mary's in the state championship game, and for a while it was going to be against Shanley in the championship game, and more often than not they came out on top. But this video we just showed you was from the 2020 state title game, which was the victory over Beulah, which turns out now is his last title. I mean, I called 5 of these. It's like I got used to seeing them there. We started televising in 2013. They had a thriller there against Wahpeton. They won that. 14, they won that. They beat Shanley. They were back in 16. They beat Kindred. 17, they beat Shanley. They lost in the final in 18 to Shanley and then got back and won it in 20. So of the times we've been on, and they made it back in 21, they lost to Jamestown in the championship just a couple years ago. So the time we've been on the air, they won it 5. I saw 5 of those 8 personally. Called them. Heck of a run to Schmeeks, and congratulations to him, and hopefully to enjoy it. I saw him in Frisco. He loves his Bison as well. I saw him down there, and hopefully he gets a chance to relax and enjoy a Friday and a Saturday now this upcoming fall. We'll take a break. We come back. Jeff Kolpak be by. I know he covered Dan Schmeeker. We'll visit with him about that and a bunch more Bison football chatter. We'll get into that as Hot Mike continues on a Monday morning. We're back after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
Stay prepared for the days and nights ahead with the best weather team. Download the Storm Tracker app, powered by Laney's. Get alerts and updates straight from the WDAY Storm Tracker team with accurate weather reports specific to your area. Just search WDAY in the Apple or Google Play Store. Download the Storm Tracker app and be ready to plan your day. The Storm Tracker app, powered by Laney's. Download it today.
On the next Tamron Hall, they not only shoot their shot, but score nothing but net every single time to kick off their world tour. And the slam-dunking, gravity-defying, high-flying windmen of the Harlem Globetrotters join us. They're balling with the Tam Fam. Plus, they're teaching me a few things. Then my friend, my other Hall sister, Carla Hall, is back in the kitchen, and she's cooking up something to help me celebrate Moses' 4th birthday on the next Tamron Hall.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on WDAY WDAZ.
News happens at all hours of the day and night.
Stories develop and situations change in the blink of an eye.
In our community, knowing where you can turn at any time of the day
for clear information and facts
is more important today than at any other time.
That's why we start our day
in the middle of the night
to gather new information
and be ready to bring it to you.
Tracking what has changed overnight and how that will impact your day today.
We're here for you with the most up-to-date news and weather
to get you on your way.
Because your community
is our community.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. He asked all his therapists to help him undertake some of the house chores. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
There are places, people, and conditions in this world that almost seem beyond hope. But not when Mercy Ships is there. Mercy Ships is a place restoring sight to the blind, happiness to the outcast, and joy to the brokenhearted. Mercy Ships is the reason why hope is now in sight. To learn more, go to mercyships.org.
It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2, I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpak, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpak.
4! I should have yelled 2.
Always great to see Jeff Kolpak on a Monday morning. You've been covering sports for a long time. You covered Dan Schmeeker, even your high school days, prep days, right?
I was barely out of college when I covered Dan Schmeeker when I worked for the Bismarck Tribune, and never thought I'd see him retire. I just never did.
You almost retired before he did.
Well, I saw him down in Frisco, and actually I hung in the same crowd as he did on, when was that, Friday night? Saturday night, before the game was Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I was at a little soiree where he was at and hung with him, for several hours, and seemed like ready to go next year. So, but he did say it's a year-by-year thing, and I'll make when the decision hits me, it'll hit me, and it obviously hit him.
45 years.
That's pretty good.
At one place. I mean, that's just...
And then you have Scott Berry up north at Mayville State Baseball after 40-some years.
I know it.
When are you going to retire?
I'm going to be going for a bit here.
This hit me that as I was looking at Inform this morning and the book issue, okay? And I thought, will it affect me much? Then I thought, is my Bison book, which is in public libraries, could that be on the chopping block if this thing passes? Because there is a couple questionable words within the quotes. Sakes. So I have to wonder if Horns Up would be part of the. What are the limits here?
Started down that road. Get me in trouble on that. I'll just say, because Ben on Dan Schmeeker stuff, he never missed any sort of big Bison get together. I remember he came back a few years ago when John Gruden came here and was super excited to get to hear from Gruden when he came to speak at a Bison coaches clinic. I saw him too the day of the game of the South Dakota State game down in Frisco. Of course, he was amped up as ever for any Bison event.
A Bison player came here from the Iron Range and played for 3 years. I think he was back in the era when he didn't play as true freshman, and he had 3 years. And I would still say this day, there's still, and I have really good friends on the Iron Range from college. And NDSU is it's a school that they still follow up there. And especially in Chisholm, Minnesota, where the owner of Tom and Jerry's is a former Bison football player from the 60s and one of Schmeeker's buddies. So it's still pretty heavily influenced of Bison football up there.
It's good stuff. So we officially wrapped up spring football. It's so different, Kolpak, now. There's no more game or anything like that. It was, literally a practice that they had on Saturday, and that was it. But NDSU's not unique in that. That's happening everywhere in college football. And
South Dakota State had a game.
They did. The Jacks did a semblance of a game. With a new coach, too. I think that's probably a good sense of maybe why
I got a text from a couple buddies that said, how come they didn't do the thing in the Dome this year? And, you have the indoor facility. I don't know if you want to roll out the carpet for 3 hours in the Dome and put that expenditure. And okay, why weren't there fans? Well, you can't fit 4,000 fans in the indoor facility. Well, I think that all added up.
And the plan was that if the weather hadn't been so haywire, they were going to use both fields and have fans go back and forth. But the way the weather worked, that was an impossibility. You're watching some of the clips that we showed from the practice on Saturday. I thought Cam Miller looked sharp. I know that's been a thing. You've been up at practice where it's been varying inconsistency there. Guy that Miller pointed out was Bryce Lance. He came right to the forefront. And Joe Stufflew, you see there on the reception. Lance is an interesting discussion piece. He's in his third year, right? He's a third-year sophomore. You and I have always been told that if that's the year it's going to click, you're either going to blossom or else it's not going to materialize. So I was encouraged with that. That was another play there. That was really the only hit play. That was Marcus Gully, the transfer from MSU Moorhead, hitting on Tamarick Williams there. And Matt Entz made his name a couple times that he's going to get into the pipeline. There's the touchdown catch that Bryce Lance had, a little curl route that got into the end zone.
Doing the waddle.
Yeah. I have been guilty of this. I won't put your name in that because you always say you're not. Guilty of blowing guys up in the spring that it may not materialize in the fall. But the Bison are going to need some guys that had big springs to take that into fall camp.
100%. And I look at wide receiver, as long as you talked about it, there's a lot of guys there. I mean, too many guys.
Everybody's back.
Yeah, there's too many guys. And so do you see a little whittling down
I would not
that?
Be surprised.
A little portal action there?
Today is the day. I'd say the next couple days, the portal is still open until next Sunday, the 30th. There's going to be, invariably, I think Entz is preparing for that.
There's like 10, 11 guys. I mean, that's you're not going to see 10, 11 guys at the field. And these guys know where they're at.
Yep.
And so
if not, the conversations that happen today or tomorrow about, hey, this is where you're at on the roster.
Yeah. And if you've been in the program 2-3 years, like Bryce Lance, and this is now, it's now time to if you think you're in the mix, then you'll probably stay. But if you're not,
especially about the guy, and we've talked ad nauseum about the redshirt freshmen there of Cedric Wall, Mekhi Collins, and Carson Hegerle. If they're coming and they know they're going to get on the field, then where am I at? Where's my status at? That's the interesting part.
But there's also veterans. They're not going. I don't think Raja Nelson's going anywhere.
Right. You look so Zach
Mathis,
Nelson, Braylon Henderson.
He's not going anywhere. It doesn't look like it to me.
Giancarlo Volpentesta is another one who's a 6-year guy. He's not going anywhere. So, I mean, and he's played a ton on special teams. That's the veritable log jam that's in front of you that you have to make a call on. Like, all right, am I happy with my role where it's at, or do I want to test greener pastures, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, and I guess we'll find out here shortly.
The news on Tony Pierce leaving, I think still, we haven't had a chance to talk about it since it happened last Tuesday. You were here on Monday. I think for some also would say, well, wait a minute, 6-year guy that's played a lot of football. What's up here? I would think also to that extent.
I think he got beat out.
Right. The guys behind him are coming. I think they're going to play. I'm going to play a lot.
And I give the system credit here from the head coach on down that they gave up 20 points a game last year, which was almost double from the championship season of 2021. So rather than just say, this is the way we've always done it.
Right.
They're changing things. Jason Petrino is changing the safety system. I think that everything was open for depth chart analysis. They probably thought Tony Pierce wasn't producing like he probably should. Maybe they need to get bigger or faster. I don't know. But there obviously was a lot of discussion on, okay, what needs to change here, because you just can't go down the same path and
hope it's going to get better
without change. Yeah, and hope.
Right. I think
they got to get bigger. Obviously, moving Wisniewski to safety.
That was my next point. That was
a move to get bigger. Marcus Gully looks the part physically that they're bigger. I mean, God bless James Kaiser, but he was a small linebacker, man. He made plays all over the place, but he also was more of a safety / outside linebacker. I'm wondering if they just said we need to get bigger at this position.
Gully, by the way, and people know him, West Fargo kid who played for the Dragons for the last couple of years, is 6'2", 227, Kolpak. That's good size for that.
He just passes the eyeball test, too, when you look at him.
Just watching him. Wisniewski, we talked to Cole after practice wrap. That was our first time to really ask him about this, and he said, they asked me. It was a little uncomfortable to start, but I'm up for wherever they want to put me on the football field. If that ends up being at safety when fall camp starts on August 2, then maybe that's the case.
You have the roster in front of you. Was he 6'4", 229?
221.
221. He's down to 221. He was bigger. as a linebacker. So maybe he's changing his body a little bit there.
This is the first, and honestly, Kopech, this was the first time he's ever done spring ball here. Because remember, he came in the fall of 20. They were playing football in the spring of 21 2 years ago. He was hurt last year with the Achilles, so he has never done spring football, which he thought it was neat in its own right. But
God, he feels like he's been here 4 years.
Right. Think about that. For some of these guys that, remember, they came in, especially the class of 2020. I look at a Cam Miller. Wisniewski is one of those guys that played football in the spring of 21, 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Then some maybe sat out last year because of either injury or how long the year went, and actually did spring ball for the first time this year in the spring of 23.
This is Tamarick Williams' first spring ball.
Right, correct, because he didn't do it last year either. That's the intriguing part about that. Just on the defense to go back into the linebacker part of this, because we've hammered on the secondary. Linebacker as well. At one time, it was Cobb was out there with Kubitz and Benson. Now, the all good size, I think. You know, Oscar started the year last year, and I think got beat out as the season went along, and obviously because Cole was out too. And if they move Wisniewski to the back end of that, I still think they have to have a guy in the middle. They cannot. I don't think rotating is the way to go. They got to find a guy who's going to win that job, though. Right?
True, and they need one of those guys to just get better. And I just,
maybe it's Marcus Gully. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Wirtz. I asked Entz on this. He said Wirtz and Kubitz are better than when they were at any time last year. So that's good sign. But again, you need to have one. You and I have talked about this forever and a day since the season ended. I think for all the title runs I think we still underappreciated what Jackson Hankey brought to that 2021 team.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask Grant Olson if he wants to meet us for dinner. Then we're going to assault him in the parking lot, hold him down, and say, all right, who's
the guy?
Who's it? Yeah. Out with it. Out.
If you were a betting man right now on April 24th, who's going to be the guy against Eastern Washington?
Oh, man.
At middle linebacker. I'm not asking to name all three. Who do you think's the guy at middle linebacker?
I mean, I can't give you an intelligent response. Not that I could anyway. But for a while, you're putting me on the spot.
What's your gut tell you? Yeah.
Kubitz.
Okay. I would agree with you. I think that'll be the case. I don't know why. But that's my gut tells me on that spot. I do think, though, they are, to your point on bigger, Reggie King is a big guy. I know you wrote about him at cornerback. He's going to play a lot at that position. Marcus Shepard, the transfer from Bowling Green, is a big guy that's going to get some reps there. Obviously, Price is back. There's some big guys back there. The question is, can they play defense?
One thing you forget about Jaden Price is his ability to return punts and how good he is there and what a threat. That's something you don't see in spring football is okay, who's going to be the that's a game-changing spot right there.
Here's a couple of Jaquise Alexander's another name you're going to want to remember. Redshirt freshman that they really, really like out of Florida. Reggie King is 6'2", 189. It's a big guy.
He looks like he's 6'3" to me. I think he's north of 6'2".
Darius Givens got moved from corner to safety. He's 6'2", 208. Big dude there. They're super high on him. Another redshirt freshman at that spot. Price is 6 foot 183 from his spot at corner. And there's another guy at linebacker who should mention too is Jaden Pickett, who's the freshman that came here.
Yeah, he seems a little young, but we'll see.
I think we'll get into the mix.
He seems a little light to me right now.
Lastly, on defensive line, they're going to be better there too.
And then, to me, they look bigger there.
I agree.
I think the Magan kid, right?
Yeah,
I think
Josh Magan, Shakopee, Minnesota's a big guy.
6'4", 6'5".
He was getting
looks like he's closer to 280, is what I understand now.
He was getting reps with the twos. Zenzen's 6'2", 246. That big enough for you, that spot on defensive end?
Big enough if you could play physical, sure.
I mean, you have Eli and Will, and
Greg Menard wasn't a big guy.
No, but he was
quick.
I
saw him there with, it must have been his brother on a recruiting visit.
Antonio was being recruited heavily by the Bison, his younger brother. Entz made one point of this, and we'll go to break. Javier Darrett had an amazing camp, is what Entz said. That's his words. So
okay, we'll see if amazing transforms.
But I would say Darrett played his best football from UND on last year. I thought
he got better.
He was really good.
He got better.
I thought he had his best football.
Dutenheffer looks like a man to me. He's just a man out there.
I think for Dutenheffer and Heisman both, the amount of reps they got with Eli out can only help them.
Don't forget about South Dakota State. Two of their best guys and two of their most
Sanders and
Winkleman in the middle aren't there anymore. Now, you could say they've got everybody back, but those two, man, oh, God, were they good.
And they played a ton of football over the last 6 years.
At a spot that's really hard to get in FCS football.
And to be good at. The Bison have owned that, and I think a reason why they struggled last year is because they weren't as good at that spot.
The Jacks are overwhelming favorites next year, but I'm just saying if there is a little hole in that team, they need to replace that. And those are two huge spots.
We'll take a break. We come back. We'll chat a little bit more of Bison football as they get set to head into their official offseason. Recruiting heating up as well for the class of 24. Back to wrap up Hour 1 with Jeff Kolpak right after this.
We just made history as Southwest Airlines' first mother-daughter pilot duo.
You've heard their incredible story. Now, Clint and Kelly is taking their looks to new heights. And an Italian recipe from 50 years ago gets a makeover, too.
Is that not so fun?
Plus, from One Tree Hill stardom to true crime, Hillary Burton Morgan.
I went to school for this subject matter and then got a job at MTV.
Next, Rachel.
Weekdays at 3 on WDAY WDAZ.
The Subaru Crosstrek. Dog tested, dog approved. Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Check out the new Subaru models today at Muscatel Subaru.
Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Any real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe, it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Thanks for buying a fishing license.
What the?
I know, but listen. I want you to picture all the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean so families can fish and swim, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
It also provides fishing education and activities for the kids, and funds long-term plans to protect our lakes and streams.
Wow.
Wow is right.
Did he?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot, because every dollar from a license purchase protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Learn more at takemefishing.org.
Wrapping up our first hour. Title roll coming up. NDSU offensive coordinator start hour 2. Email comes in for Kolpak. Kolpak, who's going to be the Bison dude at wide receiver? That's a good question. We didn't get an answer on that in 2022. What do you think? Again, we're putting you on the spot on April 24th.
Makai Collins.
Okay. All right. Redshirt freshman from Mankato.
I think Mathis is going to be his role. I think he's really good at what he does, but he's not. You're looking for somebody, the deep guy, the guy that gets open over the middle consistently.
Just to take 9 guys out of the box and say, hey, can we throw it? And I asked Cam Miller about that. I said, the first thing I talked to the coaches about after we got back from Frisco, we need to improve our vertical passing game.
I need to see Carson Hagley healthy.
Yep.
He hurt his hamstring.
He could not practice in the
got
final
hurt last fall. I need to see him healthy. I think Braylon's got his role. I think, Raja's got his role. He might be more in the backfield. I think
Raja Nelson might be a running back.
Yeah.
And people forget this, and I had Troy Mostart remind me of this. He was an all-state running back at Lakeville North when they won the state championship. He's all right at that spot.
He made some nice cuts, what I saw this spring.
That could be an interesting little weapon there, but they need a guy. Christian Watson, I'm not asking for. I'm just saying, can we find a guy that can go and catch the ball 25 yards down the field?
And again, I thought if the guys couldn't do it last year,
Green, I don't know.
Yeah, then you change things up, like the defense. Okay, we couldn't find that deep guy last year. That was pretty obvious. We had some, they had some good players, but they couldn't find that deep guy. Then you got to look somewhere else and just not say, okay, maybe he'll develop. I mean,
Ed said they threw the ball more than they have at all ever time.
He did say they need to develop their passing game.
I mean, Cam echoed that. So we need to improve our vertical pass. And that's evident, Kolpak. I mean, they had, 6 passing yards, 4 passing yards against Incarnate Word. Not known for their defense. That's I know they still won the football game, but you look at the Samford game, the Incarnate Word, and the South Dakota State game, was there any sort of a deep threat there? No. There wasn't at all.
Nope.
There was no.
Can't be afraid to throw it on first down, and you can't just do the power running game all game and try to beat the tar out of people.
It would work against Samford and Incarnate Word. It ain't going to work against the Jacks, and that's all you're measuring about, right? That's all that it matters.
It'll probably work against Eastern Washington, which can't stop anybody. It couldn't last year.
It'll work against Maine. It'll work against Central Arkansas, probably. Yep. It ain't going to work against the likes of Northern Iowa. It's not going to work against South Dakota State. It's likely not going to work against UND. You gotta find a guy that's going to be able to go and catch the ball. Lastly, on that spot, and I thought this was it. Injuries happen, but it's a missed opportunity for Cole Payton this spring.
Yes,
I think we
still don't know if he can throw. We still don't know.
We talked about it at the start of spring football. Okay, here's the opportunity for third-year guy to really make an ascension. And I know injuries happen, but the injury to his thumb really took him out of practice for the last couple weeks, and we're left here with all right, well, we still don't know. To your point, we still don't know what's going on.
Who's the number 3 quarterback?
It would be Peter Anderson right now. He would be the number 3 if it came to that, or number 2 if it came to Peyton's out. He would be the backup. So, and I know they feel comfortable with him. Cam said we know we can come in and Cole can come in and win a game for us, but we haven't seen that. We haven't seen outside of him running the ball on 3rd and 7. We haven't seen more, and that's a missed opportunity in the spring. It really is.
You're really nice to me today. Are you okay?
I'm always nice to you. What
2 weeks ago, you came with the right undercut right off the bat.
In lieu of the Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson stuff, I couldn't help but take that opportunity. It is NFL Draft Week. I always have to talk to you about this because we were there 7 years ago for the phenomenon that was Carson Wentz. I had my commentary about this that you look at a Cody Mauch or a Grant Nelson, they owe Carson for opening up the door to North Dakota. And boy, Hankinson, it's going to be something else later this week.
Saw Cody last Wednesday at the Sweet Shots event for the Roger Maris Cancer Center, and which, by the way, our group won. Can I just add that?
I heard that.
A little tidbit. Cody's so poised. Goes, it's a lot, but he can handle it. He'll be able to handle it this week.
I'm interested where he goes. That's the big question here for the big man. If it's late first round, if it's early second round, third round, sometime Friday, I believe his name is going to be called. I do not believe it's going to be in the first round, but I think we're going to hear sometime.
I think that's a general assumption, correct? I think, but round 2, I see him round 2.
Here's the thing, Kolpak. I think Saturday could be a really busy day for the buys. Hunter Lipke's going to get picked. Noah Gindorf has an outside chance. Nash Jensen has an outside chance to get selected. And I don't know if the Bison will claim him or not. I think Jasir Cox is getting some buzz that he could potentially get drafted as well.
Did not hear that.
He had a great year at West Virginia, but off of his 3 years that he spent in Fargo, that there could be both Cox brothers could be drafted.
Once a Bison, always a Bison. Is he a Bison?
He won a national championship as a starter. I think he is.
Okay.
I don't know how fans
with
want
the portal. Where's that area?
I know.
now?
I don't know how fans want to delineate that. Would NDSU claim him? They claim Jabril.
I guess the benchmark would be if you were to go into the Hall of Fame in football generally. Would it be at this school or this school? Kind of like the pro guys. When they go into the Hall of Fame, do you go in as a Minnesota Twin or do you go in as a Kansas City Royal?
Well, see, the players don't have a choice on that. That's like up to the Hall of Fame that determines that. I know you don't vote on the NDSU stuff, right?
No,
do you know
God,
people
no.
who do? You know people who do, or who determines
on the Hall of
that?
Fame stuff? I don't know.
Because that's a great.
I know. I mean, Jeff Schwartz, probably Ryan Peralta's got a big role in it.
10 to 15 years from now, when we get to this era,
I think Lee Peterson's part of that. I think there's obviously a committee.
What I mean? When we get to this era of it, Jabril Cox is a Bison Hall of Famer. I don't care what anybody has to say. He won 3
he was here 4
championships
years.
and he won 3 titles.
Yeah.
Jasir was here 4 years too. I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, but you get what I mean? Like, they're going to have
I don't think Jasir is, but certainly Jabril.
Jabril is. Absolutely. We're going to have these conversations going forward. It's going to be fun to determine that. Great to see you as always, man. I know
Have
it's
a good
busy
week, Dom.
Thanks for seeing
Let's
us.
hope the snow finally melts in our front yards.
I hope so. Jeff Kolpak joining us each and every Monday. We'll take a break. We come back. Bison offensive coordinator Tyler Roll will join us to wrap up spring ball and look ahead to a fun NFL draft week. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns right after this.
Stay prepared for the days and nights ahead with the best weather team. Download the Storm Tracker app, powered by Laney's. Get alerts and updates straight from the WDAY Storm Tracker team with accurate weather reports specific to your area. Just search WDAY in the Apple or Google Play Store. Download the Storm Tracker app and be ready to plan your day. The Storm Tracker app, powered by Laney's. Download it today. Join WDAY Sports for NFL draft coverage. Live from Hankinson, North Dakota. Live interviews with NFL hopefuls and much more as the community prepares for Cody Mauch's future in the NFL. Only on WDAY Extra. Friday at 6:30.
Sorry, I'm out sick again. I just can't shake this fever.
Spread by mosquito bites, West Nile virus is found in nearly every state across the country.
Elena had another asthma attack. She's really sad to miss school again.
Asthma, a leading chronic illness among children and youth in the U.S., can often be triggered by allergens from household pests.
Hi, Chief. I finally got a diagnosis. It's Lyme disease. I'll be out for a few days, maybe longer.
Every year, nearly 300,000 people nationwide are diagnosed with Lyme disease, an illness from tick bites.
Coach, I'm at the hospital. I got stung by something and had a bad allergic reaction. I'm not going to make the game.
Stinging insects send more than 500,000 people to the emergency room every year. Don't let pests force you to take a sick day. Learn how to protect yourself and your family at pestworld.org.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Those 9 months were also 273 days of planning. What about your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. And let's not forget those barbecues you plan in detail for your family and your more vegetarian by the day best friends. That surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit. and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
I'm Tyne Morgan, host of U.S. Farm Report. Join me right here each weekend as we explore the news and issues that matter most to agriculture. We know each year farmers and ranchers are thrown challenges, but as agriculture continues to adapt, we are right there with you. From markets to weather, we take a deep dive into what matters most to agriculture and rural America.
Saturdays at 6 a.m.
The end of hunger and poverty starts here. Your gift of an animal from Heifer International can help a family with food and income, all while caring for the earth. Heifer International. Learn more at heifer.org.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody, to Hot Mike on a busy Monday morning. WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. It is NFL Draft Week, and we'll have plenty of content and get you ready for that, including we will be live for a special show Friday night in Hankinson, North Dakota. We'll be on the air 6:30 Friday night to get you ready for at the mock draft party, essentially, which is going to be a quite the scene from what I've been told. Actually, the party's going to start Thursday. I'm not sure if it'll end Friday, depending on when the big man from Hankinson gets drafted. The fact that that's happening alone is just a cool story, and we're going to be there to document it coming up later on in the week. Our next guest, I'm sure, brings a smile to his face hearing that. I'm going to date him. It was 15 years ago he was going through this whole process. As we welcome on NDSU offensive coordinator Tyler Roll joins us on the road recruiting this morning. What do you remember about the week of the draft? That I remember being at your house when you got the call from the Seahawks, but that week leading up, were you just ready for it to be done?
Yeah, there's so much anticipation, but you got to enjoy it because it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. And for the guys going through it this week, and you did have to date me with 15 years ago, hopefully it doesn't look like it. But no, you got to enjoy it because it's a childhood dream, and to have all the time that you as an individual have invested, the hard work, everything that has, and everyone else that has invested into you to get you to that point. It's a culmination, and it's extremely special once you do finally get the call onto where you're going and have those dreams achieved. But then, the guys that are going to get their names called, it's the mindset of, okay, this is the next step, and now it's time to really get to work.
I know this has got to be really special for you for this week, for the potential 3 guys that you work with, even 4. We throw Nash Jensen in there pretty closely. For the big man from Hankinson, just to have this happen and see what has become. I mean, I know you're shaking your head about it. He became a TV superstar at the Combine. Just tell me your thoughts about what this could happen on Friday night.
Oh, I mean, just going through his whole process, the recruiting process, and coming to camp, and you saw, he was with me the whole time at tight end, and you see a kid who was eager to learn, eager to compete, eager to go and do the drill work, not someone who was standing in the back of lines, things that we look for in future Bison. And he was low ego, then having conversations on the phone with him about, and the pride that he had in NDSU and NDSU football. I couldn't wait to go in there and just, present him to the staff. Just the desire to have him in the program somehow, some way, and end up being a walk-on. And his commitment to being a Bison, knowing that nothing was guaranteed, coming in playing tight end, actually started out was at D-end because we needed numbers, played D-end for days, came back over to tight end, and we had a plan in place. And just through the process, just told him, hey, Mother Nature will run its course. You just continue to grow, you can continue to develop, you eat over in the dining center. I think he was a big fan of the pizza Stromboli over there. And Mother Nature, just everything will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And you, as a coach, continue to find a role for him. And early it was moving him to O-line, but yet playing him at tight end. So he was our ogre tight end for the 19 season. And then over COVID, he just continued to develop at the offensive line position, whether it be inside, taking snaps at center, playing tackle, what have you. And he solidified himself into playing O-line at a high level. And he always had a little bit of edginess and nastiness to him. And you just see the confidence in him knowing what he was doing based off the techniques, the call, whatever was in front of him, that he just continued to cut it loose and play with that edge. And from what he came from, 5-6 years ago to where he's at now, not extremely surprised, because he was a big-bodied athlete that loved playing football and was willing to work. And credit to his parents for the way they raised him. Credit to his position coaches. Coach Larson did an awesome job with him, developing him into the offensive lineman that he is today. So really happy for Cody.
What does it say, you as an offensive coordinator now, this is going to be 3 drafts in a row where you're going to have an offensive lineman drafted high. Describe that, of why this school is able to do that.
Yeah, it's a commitment to a philosophy. And we're not a school that's just going to run plays at practice. There's time that's devoted to individual development, technique work, the way in which we play. Our style of offense is a pro style offense with a balance of under center, shotgun, the different types of schemes that we want to run, whether it be gap scheme power, gap scheme counter, pin pull, zone, outside zone, all the QB read run game off of it, pre-snap RPOs, the protections. Everything is very closely related to how an NFL offense is run. The practice, everything is very closely identifiable to an NFL. The communication. So he's prepared. The guys, the offensive players, and I'm just speaking from an offensive standpoint. Yeah. The offensive players are set up for success because this is a pro-style developmental program from the offensive side of the ball. So the guys are ready once they step onto an organization's facility, campus, whatever you call it. They're ready to go just because they have been prepared for 5, even some cases 6 years to play at that level.
I know this is a special week for you, for 2 guys close to you, Hunter Lipke and Noah Gindorf. We haven't seen Hunter on the football field prior to Pro Day since that game in Carbondale. I thought, Tyler, I haven't had a chance to ask you, I thought Pro Day he looked amazing. I thought he made some money on Pro Day. Give me a sense of what you're hearing and the excitement level for. I'm looking at Matt Miller right now, who's a great NFL draft scout for ESPN. It says favorite players, he gives them a favorite position at fullback. He's got Lipke's name there.
Yeah, I obviously crushed with the injury, but he's been strong. His wife is unbelievable. He's got a great network of people that have been supporting him through this process. But at Pro Day, leading up to Pro Day, he put a ton of work in, and happy with, just the mindset he had. He's a guy who's just going to go in there and keep his mouth shut and work. That's who he is. He's a low ego, high capacity, high worker. And no, he went out there. He looked really good. A little side story, had a little bet with him. Just if he would have beat my 40 time on Pro Day, we were going to buy each other a cheeseburger. So Hunter's really fast. And I might have edged him by, I think the clocks were a little bit slower back then. But he might owe me a cheeseburger. Oh, but so happy for him. He's got a bright future. I didn't get drafted. He's going to get drafted. Yeah. But no, so excited for him and his wife and his future, because he's got a bright future, because wherever he goes, he'll do whatever is asked of him. Special teams, play receiver, play tailback, learn blitz, pick up on third down, get a 3-yard carry on 3rd and 2. He'll do whatever's asked of him. He'll excel wherever he goes.
Was there a moment, Tyler, with him, with Lipke, that you realized, all right, he's got special ability that can translate to the next level? Was it a practice, a game that stands out to you about that?
Two things. When he was a true freshman, and we have, kind of a get to know you session with the position group, and for a true freshman to go up in front of the room and he's getting questions fired at him, just get to know you. And someone asked, what's your goals? And without blinking, without cracking a smile, with a straight face, he said, I want to be one of the best players to play here, and my goal is to play in the NFL. And for a young kid to come in and say that to a bunch of upperclassmen, I was just like, okay, this kid's extremely goal-driven, and ready to take on whatever's put in front of him. And then the process, the one fall game we had against Central Arkansas was kind of his coming out party. Just with how dynamic we were with him, putting him in the backfield, at fullback, at tight end, at wing, in motion, all those things. And knowing after that game how much we could build upon that package and put him in a position, to create mismatches and what have you. Those were two big moments. I just remember it very vividly.
It's good you mentioned that. I think people forget that game. It was Trey Lance's last game, and he had 2 touchdowns late in that game that ended up winning it. He was all over the field that day. I know you were getting the right arm back working with Noah Gindorf on his pro day. The Lions had their tight end coach. When I hear position coaches are coming, that's a big deal. So from what you're hearing on Gindy, what are the chances that the phone I know the phone's going to be ringing. Could it be during the draft?
Yeah. With the timing, with him pushing his pro day back just to be 100% cleared, healthy, ready to go, that timeline is hard to get anyone to those pro days, just because back doing their draft meetings, personnel meetings. So for him to have 12, 13 people there, teams, and a position coach is huge, instrumental for this next week for him. And to see him back close to 100%, the way he was blocking towards the end of his pro day, the routes he was running, just looking at his physical stature and how he changed his body over the last 3-4 months, how he attacked his rehab, really happy for him. Hearing good buzz, he could go late. If he were to have stayed healthy, I think he would have been a mid-round draft pick, but everything happens for a reason. He's faced this adversity head on. I know you had him in for an interview, how strong he is mentally, how he's faced all this adversity, the people that have surrounded him, his parents, our staff, really, really happy for him to put him in this position, to go and give himself a chance, because he's a guy that could play and play for a long time. On the ball tight ends, people who are willing to block at the point of attack, how big he is, how athletic he is, excited for his future as well.
I got to ask you, now the spring ball's in the books about the 2023 Bison. What has stood out to you over the last month of practice, or is there a player or players that caught your eye that we should keep an eye on when fall camp arrives in August?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good depth. Who's going to be the guy that's going to get their number called at the moment of truth? And I could probably rattle off 10, 15 names. There's so much depth. The one word I would probably say is just unproven. Guys have put in a ton of work. I've thrown a ton of, maybe wrinkles, different schemes, different procedures, and they've knocked it out of the park. Excited about the work that we put in, excited about some of the upperclassmen really developing their own leadership. There's a newness. It's refreshing because there are so many guys who are so ready for their opportunity. Young guys, I don't know, I could go through each position group. Really happy Cam and Cole, Cole obviously just dinged his thumb up a little bit, but the way he was playing was really good. Cam's playing at a really high level. The running back room, more 4 deep. Those 4 are really good. Tight ends, there's 4 or 5 good tight ends, 2 good fullbacks. Let's just rotate. Let's keep everyone fresh because, Joe plays at a high level. Logan Hoff's at Hunter Rosio. After that, it's unquestioned. Carson Williams did a really good job catching the football, especially when we had live opportunities. JJ Strite and Finn Diggins are both really good players. So it's a deep room. Receiver is as talented overall as a group as we've had.
Yeah.
So happy with the depth there. Eli Green, Braylon Henderson, Chris Harris, Bryce Lance. I know I'm leaving Makai Collins, Carson Hagerly. Zach Mathis did an unbelievable job. Raja, put a lot more on his plate. GC Volpentesta threw a lot more on his plate. He met with the tight ends and fullbacks a lot.
Yeah.
He's primarily a receiver for us. And then O-line wise, there's good depth. Hunter Pontius came out of his shell and playing really well. Gray Zabel's in the conversation of being one of our top O-linemen. Mason Miller's getting healthy. Jalen Sundell's playing at a high level. Jake Kuba's playing at a high level. Westberg continues to develop. So there's good depth. It's encouraging. But we need to continue to build off the positive momentum that we built over the course of the 15 practices. Turn them over to, Coach Kramer here for the summer. Know that he's going to sprinkle his magic dust on them and just continue to build them into the players that we need. So there's a level of excitement heading into the fall of 23.
I know you got to go. I want to ask one last question on Cam mentioned to me on Saturday that he made a point of, and I know you knew this anyway, but he said, after Frisco, that we need to be better in the vertical passing game. Matt Entz told me we threw more in the spring than we ever have. How much was that a concerted effort? We're gonna wing it more here in the spring.
Well, a lot. I mean, feel extremely confident with the way we run the football, under center, in the shotgun. So I feel like, in my opinion, springtime is a time to address things that we need to improve upon. Did a lot of professional development, professional studied certain offenses, teams, collaboration with other great offensive minds, other ways to get the ball out in space to some of our playmakers. So felt like that was an area where we wanted to continue to enhance and improve, and we did. Happy with the development, again, of the quarterback room, the receiver room, their trust within each other, the different schemes that we have implemented. We've put a lot of time, effort, and energy into that phase, and we're only going to continue to build. The guys knocked it out of the park. Excited about how we've implemented new things, new schemes. It's been a big effort, and our staff, the players in conjunction, there's a high level of connection to continue to build off of what we've done.
It's always great to talk, man. Safe travels on the road recruiting, and we'll chat again down the road, okay?
For sure. Sounds good. I appreciate you.
Thanks, bud. There he goes. Tyler Roll, NDSU offensive coordinator, joining us on the road this morning as the recruiting world never ends. As soon as spring ball gets done, it's back on the road. And that's a conversation I hope to have sometime this summer about the new calendar on recruiting. It's a little in the weeds kind of stuff, but I think people will enjoy that. But it never ends. And, just wrap it up on this one segment before we break on the ability to throw the ball. And that's clearly something that was an issue, came up, I think, at the end of the season, even with teams that the Bison were facing. Samford and Incarnate Word knew they're going to run the ball, and they still really couldn't stop it. Even when they put 9 or 10 guys in the box, the Bison were still able to, and that's credit to the amazing offensive line. I mean, there's a very good chance that they could have 2 guys drafted off that offensive line in just a few days. You can't bank on that. You still have to be able to expand the field. You got to be able to throw it deep. And do we know these guys, like Tyler said? I mean, they're making plays, but it's unproven. They haven't done it in a game yet. And that's the critical part of when this season comes around in late August, early September, if they're going to be able to go down the field and make a play. Those non-conference games, I'm telling you, those are not world beaters. We'll do our schedule preview as we get into the spring and summer months here. But Eastern Washington, Maine, and Central Arkansas, while they're all past playoff teams, they are not going to be near the top of their leagues, in my opinion, in 2023. There's an opportunity there to get live reps, game reps, to find out who you can throw the ball to on 3rd and 7 when you need it at your own 35-yard line. Zach Mathis, I think on Braylon Henderson. Beyond that, Raja Nelson sometimes. After that, There's not a great sample size there. Something that's going to be determined here over the next few months. We're due for a break. We'll come back. We're caught up on a couple things. We roll on a busy Monday. Overreaction Monday continues after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com.
It's Live with Kelly and Mark.
I just want to say a quick thank you for trusting me to be your co-pilot. I really appreciate it. And thank you.
Tuesday, Laura Dern and her mother, Diane Ladd. Plus, Miranda Lambert. And Spring Has Sprung Week continues.
Where should I walk? Right here? Is this good?
Yeah, you can walk right there. This is your show. Do whatever you want.
You walk in.
Oh, the power.
Weekdays at 9 a.m. on WDAY WDAZ.
On the next Tamron Hall, they not only shoot their shot, but score nothing but net every single time to kick off their world tour. The slam-dunking, gravity-defying, high-flying women of the Harlem Globetrotters join us. They're balling with the Tam Fam. Plus, they're teaching me a few things. Then my friend, my other Hall sister, Carla Hall, is back in the kitchen, and she's cooking up something to help me celebrate Moses' 4th birthday on the next Tamron Hall.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on WDAY WDAZ.
For children fighting critical illness, we can make the stars align. Because when we come together, hope and joy will shine. Help us make every wish come true.
I'm Naheem Hines. I support the Muscular Dystrophy Association because they help my mom and kids like Ethan.
Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before.
Join us and learn more at MDA.org today.
Do you want to meet a family with a transgender kid? Here we are. We love our kids unconditionally, and we will never stop fighting for them. Stand with us. Protect our families.
When you or a loved one is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it can be tough to know where to turn. But the Alzheimer's Foundation of America is here for you. We've helped tens of thousands of people through our 7-day-a-week helpline, connected communities nationwide with information and support through our Educating America tour, and our telephone-based support groups meet weekly, providing assistance and support to families. We do it all because of one thing, you. Join us in the fight against Alzheimer's and donate today. ALZFDN.org or call 866-232-8484.
You bet your life.
You seriously asking me this question, Jay? Coney Island. What are we doing over here?
Boosting the economy.
Yeah, give me that money.
Every weekday.
I'm going to give it to you like an Italian uncle. Here you go. You get yourself a little something there. There you go, right there.
Weekdays at 3:30 p.m.
I've been doing this for a long time. Somebody has to stand up for victims.
Detective Stabler, my partner, Detective Benson.
The world is changing. It took a lot of courage to get up on that stand. There's no stigma in coming forward. Please help me stop him.
He's not gonna ever be able to hurt you again.
I promise you, I'll protect you. I'm not gonna stop until we find this guy.
Weekdays at 12 p.m.
Federal investigators blame human error for a deadly natural gas explosion.
We all remember where we were that morning.
We could actually see the smoke from our farm here, which is close to 20 miles away.
I started to pull right off the bat. Both tractors just kind of started to spin out, and those are big tractors. So I knew something wasn't right. Out of nowhere, I just heard a big boom. The tile plow ruptured into the pipeline. Once the gas got through the intakes of the tractors is when it ignited. As soon as I heard that boom, I started running as fast as I could. The ground literally started erupting from my feet.
They were highly respected and they were good at what they did. It was one of those accidents that, when it was done, made people step back and pause. If an accident can happen to them, it can happen to anyone.
Watch the rest of the story at 3secondslater.org. And remember, Farm Safe starts by contacting 811.
Welcome back, everybody, on this Monday morning. Our thanks to Title Roll for giving us a few minutes on a busy week. Bison have actually added a player for the recruiting class of 2023. Running back out of Illinois, Kelly Watson, verbally committed last night. So the Bison added some running back depth to a room there that, obviously with the departure of Kobe Johnson, that they were counting on, I believe, for the fall of 23, and then Kobe decided to enter the portal after the national championship game. They may have left them. I don't know if shorthanded is the right word, but we know there are 4 guys there now. You have Barika Penu, Tamarick Williams, TK Marshall, Owen Johnson. They have Shamar Brown, the young man from Omaha, coming in the fall, along now with Watson. That'll give them 6 running backs, and it would not be out of the realm of possibility that all 6 of them would likely get on the football field sometime in the fall of 2023. I thought that was a position that they would either address via the portal or add another young guy, and they've decided to add another young player. And my final piece on this before we got our bottom of the hour break coming here, so I won't go too long, but I would tell Bison fans to, now that spring ball is done, to prepare themselves for other departures. I don't know who, I don't know when, but with it being Monday, I would say let's probably keep our eyes peeled on that. I think that's something that there very well could transpire. And it's just the nature of the beast here. The portal is open for another 6 days. So April 30th is when this window closes. Doesn't necessarily have to be today, but between now and Sunday, I would anticipate there's going to be some departures. And that doesn't mean you can't add anybody after April 30th. You can, and I anticipate the Bison will do that too. I don't think they're just going to stand pat and not try and add anybody. They have offered the defensive end out of Southern Illinois and Richie Haggerty. They had really high hopes of maybe getting him. Haggerty yesterday got an offer from Northwestern. David Braun is now the defensive coordinator at Northwestern. I mean, you put 2 and 2 together on this stuff. That's how it works. It is a dog-eat, it is a dirty, dirty business in that recruiting world. It just is, especially with the portal thrown in. It is no holds barred is the best way to describe what's going down there. We'll break. We come back. We'll talk some more draft chatter as we are 3 days out from the NFL draft beginning in Kansas City. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns right after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
Plains Art Museum invites you to open your mind and embrace the unknown at our annual Spring Gala Wonderland. Join us on Saturday, May 6th for an evening of wonderment and delight, including an art auction featuring more than 100 local, regional, and national artists. Music by Mae Simpson and Star 4. Hors d'oeuvres by Chef's Table and Urban Foods Catering. Delicious desserts from Nicole's Fine Pastry and Cafe. And a wine tasting with Happy Harry's Bottle Shops. Tickets are available now at plainsart.org.
Getting ready? We all have our routine. But of all the things you remember to bring with you, naloxone could be the most important. It can reverse an opioid overdose and save a life. If you or someone you know is at risk for opioid overdose, keep naloxone on you. For more information about naloxone, visit cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
Here it is. Look how cheap it is.
Go for it, Steph.
Be careful what you buy online.
It's finally here.
Counterfeit products are illegal. They are fake and can be damaging to you, your property, and your wallet.
Go, 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 go!
It looks real, but I don't have a good feeling about this.
Whoa, no, get out!
Buying fake products can cost you the health of your face, skin, and eyes, or scar you for life. Real products are tested for safety. Buy the brand. Protect yourself. This message is brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council and the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
You're smart. Buy smart.
Go for real.
Go for real.
Go for real.
This is a murder mystery of epic proportions. You get this picture of a jealous guy, thinks she's got a lover, and bang, she's dead.
What possessed you to do that?
Could this be a murder for hire?
When you've got something that was this bad,
somebody's got to pay. Dateline.
Weekdays at 1 p.m.
In this job, You take your eye off it for 1 second. People can die.
Go now!
Don't think. Just do it.
We're gonna get her out.
Here we go.
Hey, slow breath.
I'm a firefighter, and I will always be a firefighter. Did a great thing today. It's all because of you.
Weekdays at 7 p.m. and 12:05 a.m.
Autism is a common, but such a heterogeneous, such a complex condition that describes many different individuals with different types of symptoms and different types of challenges. As a physician, I had so many questions, and unfortunately, when patients would come to me, I couldn't really give them a lot of answers. As a geneticist as well, I started to appreciate that at least for some individuals with autism, there was an underlying genetic basis, and that we could really start to understand in a much more precise way what was going on for them by understanding the genes, how it affects the brain, how it affects behavior, and how it affects other parts of the body as well. When we think about how many people we need to answer the hundreds of questions that we all have about autism, we start to need tens of thousands of individuals that have the same types of symptoms to be able to answer those questions. Join us today. Go to sparkforautism.org.
Welcome back, everybody, on a Monday morning edition of Hot Mike, WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. Tomorrow on the show, we'll have our usual lineup of guests. Mike McFeel will be by, Kyle Emanuel will be here. Hankinson head football coach Jason Moneylaws will join us as well to tap into what's the last couple days going to be like in Hankinson, anticipation of what Thursday and Friday will be like. I know the NFL has called him as well. So that's a fun conversation. We'll have that coming up on our show tomorrow. So look forward to that as part of our full week of NFL draft coverage. You'll see right here on Hot Mike. A fun tweet that came out while we were in break on the for you TV football nerds like myself. Fox executive saying the second biggest draft begins on Thursday. The top draft of the week starts this morning. And that is referring to where the networks start to pick the top college football games they want to have on their air. And it obviously involves all the big boy schools, as you'd well imagine. And with a new TV partner thrown into the mix, as we know this year, CBS and NBC will start their broadcast of Big Ten games. With the SEC getting a little bit more exposure on ESPN as well. Fox obviously has the number one pick with them having the big rights for the Big Ten. And, you know, is there any doubt what that game is going to be? They're going to take the Ohio State-Michigan game with the number one pick. And then after that, it's up for grabs on what the top games will go from there. And you mean, you look at it in what particular league, okay, and some games aren't guaranteed. Like if you're saying, well, all right, well, I'll take, Georgia and Alabama. Well, no guarantee they play every year. That's the uniqueness of that. Because if that was the case, then I'd say, well, once that comes around, that CBS would grab that game. As it stands, they don't play this year. Georgia and Alabama don't play during the regular season because of the divisional deal. That's why the Ohio State-Michigan game is number one on everybody's radar, because we know they're playing this year. The other one that came up in the Big Ten, because you know that NBC is into the mix this year, was Wisconsin and what was it? Wisconsin, Ohio State in Madison. That could be a primetime game on NBC because they're into the mix now. The Big Ten is going to there are going to be a heck of a lot more games on now simply because of the new contract of how that's going to work. So that'd be something to keep an eye on. We'll get all these releases probably in the next month. If you remember right from last year, right before Memorial Day or right around then is when College football will start putting out its early season schedule of what's going to be on TV for weeks 1, 2, and 3. I'd imagine right about then we'll find out for the opening couple weeks of the season for those particular games. But that'll, again, if you want the most eyeballs, you want the best games, that's the ones you go and fight for. It's funny because that draft almost as vicious as the NFL one that's coming up this week. I was just, speaking of which, reading Todd McShay's latest column on top prospects, quarterbacks, early picks of where everyone's trending. The number 2 pick right now, which we thought was a lock and stock for a quarterback for the Texans, appears to be that's when the draft is really going to start, because we think Bryce Young is going to be the number 1 pick, the quarterback from Alabama, to go to Carolina. Of course, we're going to have our mock draft on Thursday. Then the second pick is when things are going to get really interesting with the Texans, because it doesn't seem like they're going to be beholden to a quarterback there. The Cardinals, we know, want to trade out of the 3 spot. The Colts, according to McShay, the Will Levis Colts buzz is very real. We're actually going to talk to Youngstown State's beat guy, Joel Wetzel, later in the week, because he covered Youngstown played Kentucky this past season, picked them off a couple times, in fact, in that game. We're going to get some inside intel on that, on the Will Levis conversation from the FCS perspective later on in the week. The Colts seem high on potential there. The Seahawks, as you saw on our draft board, have 2 picks with the 5 and the 20. The Lions come up at 6. The Raiders at 7. McShay says the Raiders explored a trade up to number 1 for Young earlier this offseason, but after they were unable to get that done, everything I'm hearing now points to Vegas being out on the quarterbacks, which, again, they gave Jimmy Garoppolo some big-time money. That makes sense. And then you see with the Eagles at 10, the Jets at 13, says offensive tackle is the biggest need here. Hello. Mekhi Becton's played like 3 games over the last 36 potential there, the number 1 pick in 2020. Steelers at 17. One mock I saw this morning had Cody Mauch at the in the middle of the 3rd round. That was actually Peter King's draft there. And he went a step further. He had Mauch connected to the Cleveland Browns in the 3rd round, heading into the AFC North, which that would be a intriguing pick if that's where, a spot, I should say, if that's where he ends up heading into. I think also, if for the Vikings, that's where I want to relate to this conversation before we wrap up our segment here, because it's a really interesting week. Obviously, we had Trey Lance was here this weekend. Off the news, the buzz on Saturday morning, I'm literally reading a story at ESPN.com that the Texans are maybe talking to the 49ers about Trey, because Rand Carthon, who used to be the assistant general manager with the 49ers, is now with the Texans, was part of the draft process there that got Trey Lance to San Francisco. Would they say, okay, this may be their quarterback here, and go the Will Anderson route, the great lineman, with the 2nd overall pick? Are the Vikings in on Trey? I think there's more steam there. Mike Florio reported that the Vikings and the 49ers spoke at the Combine in March. We don't know the extent of it. We don't know how far it got, but at least there was some conversation there. I think the chances of this happening are not 0 for the Vikings and Trey Lance. I don't know how high they are, frankly. There's a double-edged sword on this. A, for you Viking rubes out there, say, well, all right, we get a Minnesota guy that the Gophers missed out on because they wanted him to play safety. He can come play quarterback here. One on. The other side of the sword is, well, wait a minute. If one of the great quarterback gurus in Kyle Shanahan is deciding that they aren't going to go with the guy they gave up the kitchen sink for and instead go with the guy they took at the very last draft pick in last year, is there something fundamentally wrong here? And is there a red flag? I think there's maybe some merit to that. To that point, I think Trey handled it in he went along just seeing him. He's the same old self when I visited with him on Saturday. And from the brief interview we had on our broadcast on Saturday, and we'll post that later today at Inform if you missed it, I think he's handling that as best you can, taking it in stride, frankly, that he's getting ready for the season with the 49ers. Now, this is the week, I think, again, if something were to happen, this would probably be the week that maybe it goes down. So if the Vikes go that way, they could. Or they could go and draft a guy, and maybe they do it with their – I have the mindset, I am not convinced the Vikes are going to pick 23rd. I think they're going to try and trade down. Seems like Kwesi is a big fan of that, much like Rick Spielman was, that maybe they move out of that pick. Is that a potential there? If a Hendon Hooker is sitting there for him, do they go that route? Is Anthony Richardson fall that low? The great quarterback out of Florida that's got so much hype. I think there's a real possibility that 5 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. Complete opposite of what we saw last year. Remember, Kenny Pickett was the only guy that went in the first round of the Steelers last year, that we could have what we saw in 21, where you had 4 quarterbacks gone in the top, 15 picks, 3 in a row in 21. It was Lawrence, Wilson, Lance went 1, 2, 3 in 2021. That we're going to have something of that nature here in 2023, which I think for all the television networks, they love that when the quarterbacks come up high in the draft. So the Vikes are in a real interesting spot here. I am of the mindset that this is it with them and Kirk Cousins. They will part ways after this year. They have not extended him. I know they could do that even after the draft to see how it pans out, but I think their actions here are going to go in a separate direction after the 2023 season is, with a young quarterback. Who is that going to be? Is it Trey Lance? Is it Hendon Hooker? Is it Anthony Richardson? Is it none of the above? That's the part that I find really, really interesting with this football team. Because how good are the Vikes going to be? We know their schedule is going to be super tough this year because they won their division. They play all the division winners in 2023, including the world champs. They got Kansas City on the schedule, Eagles on the schedule, 49ers on the schedule. Man, it is tough. They beat up on some bad, and I know they won whatever it was, a record amount of games by single margin, but they played the dregs of the NFL, frankly, because their schedule set up that way in last fall. And they play the AFC West as the crossover division. You have to figure that's going to be better in 2023. It's going to be really interesting. And the lead up to this will be nonstop. It has been. And it will only grow more fervent over the next couple days about what they're going to do. Their press conference, they answered nothing. We played a little bit of that a couple weeks ago. Of course, they're not going to say anything. But their actions on Thursday may speak very loudly on where they want to go. We remember what the Packers did with the drafting of Jordan Love and the aftershocks that were felt of that now 3 years later, still being felt on the drafting of Love in the first round. That now finally the Packers are going to move on from Aaron Rodgers. That your intentions of what you do, I'm not talking at the top of the draft. I'm talking from 15 to 32. That's where you let your team know where we're heading, what we're doing. And if you take a quarterback in the back half, that your intentions are being known, this is who we're going with. That's where we find our future with. It's going to be fascinating to find out. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll get you ready for a busy Sports Monday. Twins are back on the diamond after not a great weekend for them, losing 2 or 3 of the Nationals. We'll preview that and a heck of a lot more as we wrap up the show right after this on a sunny Monday. Raptors.
On On the next Tamron Hall, they not only shoot their shot, but score nothing but net every single time to kick off their world tour. The slam-dunking, gravity-defying, high-flying windmen of the Harlem Globetrotters join us. They're balling with the Tam Fam. Plus, they're teaching me a few things. Then my friend, my other Hall sister, Carla Hall, is back in the kitchen, and she's cooking up something to help me celebrate Moses' 4th birthday on the next Tamron Hall.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on WDAY WDAZ.
If alcohol builds a wall around you that doesn't let you see where you're going, that keeps you feeling isolated and alone, that makes you feel hopeless, know this. We're here to help if you want us to. It's never too early or too late to ask for help with a drinking problem. Alcoholics Anonymous, there is a way out. For more information, visit aa.org and download the Meeting Guide app.
What is dementia? Is it the same as Alzheimer's? What is vascular dementia, Lewy body, FTD, TBI, and CTE? If someone has memory loss, does that mean they have dementia? Millions of Americans ask these questions every day. I did too, and I learned. My wife Ginny developed dementia. I didn't know what to do or what was coming next. I'm Kevin Jameson, volunteer and president of the Dementia Society of America. I'm excited to offer you a free guide to understanding dementia. It's filled with facts about dementia, care planning, how doctors can help, and ways to keep your brain as healthy as possible. The Dementia Society of America is a national nonprofit, and we're ready to answer your questions. You want to live life to the fullest. I know that. Ginny did too, and I'm confident that we can help. Get your copy of the guide. Go to 1-800-DEMENTIA.org or call 1-800-DEMENTIA. Thank you.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day we encounter people who are having the worst day of their entire lives.
Does it get any easier?
Nope.
It takes a certain kind of person to run towards danger rather than run away from it.
Why is this job so important to you?
Growing up, I never saw any heroes who looked like me.
And that's what a hero looks like.
Help is on the way.
Sundays at 8 p.m.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities, victory over setbacks, victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Join our team to help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
Join our team in the fight against cancer at V.org.
Wrapping up the show here for a Monday in anticipation of a huge week here for us on Hot Mic and, of course, on WDAY Sports as well. We'll have you fully covered leading up all the way to the night of the draft, through the draft, and beyond. What's going to happen this week with guests here on our show and features on our newscast each and every night over the next few nights. So if that's not your cup of tea, I apologize, but that's what everybody's going to be talking about, I think, this week, especially considering the local angle that we have on it here, where several Bison have a chance to hear their name called coming up this weekend. And for you Viking fans out there, there's never-ending speculation there. And to that point, from Matt Miller, one of the most popular texts I've gotten from evaluators throughout the past 10 days has been some form of, watch the Vikings for Hendon Hooker. If that's a possibility, then maybe they don't need to get him at 23. That's why there's maybe some juice there that maybe they'll trade back down and able to get him later in the first round. Remember, the Vikes did that last year and were able to get their picks that they needed, ended up getting, and again, Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth, who both got hurt. The Vikes have basically got a couple of picks that are already on the team that they can count as new players for the 2023 season. But the never-ending speculation there will continue. Also from Miller, as he listed out his favorite players then at each position, which can't be the number one guy at said spot. Again, as I mentioned when Tyler Roll was on, he's got Hooker at quarterback and Hunter Lipke at fullback. So I'm of the mindset Lipke's name is going to get called early on Saturday. The fourth round is when that goes on Saturday, and I think it's going to be sometime there. You're going to hear Lipke's name. As for the other Bison guys, if it's Noah Gindorf or Nash Jensen, Spencer Wagee, Destin Talbert, I think all of them are going to have calls. Whether they get selected is another deal. If I were to pick out of those guys, honestly, I think it might be Nash Jensen, just because the offensive line or interior offensive lineman for this draft, and again, I'm not a great draft mind. I'm just, from what I've talked to, who I've read, say it's not a great interior draft class. Nash has had a solid run, had a good performance at the All-Star game he went to, the NFLPA game, coached by Eddie George out there. I think his pro day was good. He had a visit with the Vikings. I think, could there be a late-round pick? Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me on Gindorf either. But if I was to bet right now, I'd say Nash Jensen, because the tight end group is electric. It is really good this year for the tight ends that are heading into the NFL class. We'll have much more on that throughout our week here on The Big Show. Let's get you ready for what to watch before we get out of here on this Monday. The Minnesota Twins are back in action tonight as they're back at home to take on the Yankees. Start of a 3-game set at Target Field. 6:30, the start for that one tonight. What a missed opportunity weekend for the Twins. Lost 2 of 3 to the Nationals, who are bad. Sonny Gray will start for the Twins, who just split a 4-game set with the Yankees in the Bronx. Again, 6:30 tonight on Bally Sports North. Game 4, Grizzlies and the Lakers tonight, 9 o'clock on TNT. Lakers lead that series 2-1 after they outscored the Grizzlies 35-9 in the first quarter on Saturday. Ended up winning the game in a game where Dylan Brooks got ejected for a low shot on LeBron James. Boy, if the Lakers can put the hammer down, if they win this tonight, they would go up 3-1 going back to Memphis for a Game 5. That's coming up tonight, 9 o'clock on TNT. And from the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Golden Knights and the Jets in Winnipeg, 8:30 tonight on ESPN. Vegas leads that series 2-1 after a thrilling win on Saturday. A great atmosphere in Winnipeg. It will be again tonight as the Jets will try to even up that series at 2 games apiece. Part of a busy night in both the NHL and the NBA playoffs. As you see, this is the lineup of games tonight. Devils, Rangers tonight. Lightning and the Leafs. Leafs trying to go up 3-1. And the Kraken will try to even that series with the Avalanche at 2 games apiece. That's also tonight on TBS. And there's the basketball lineup where the Bucks suddenly are on maybe life support. The Heat are up 2-1, a win there, and that will put Miami up 3-1, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Again, repeating a couple of our big stories that happened this morning when we came on the air. Fargo's Connor McGovern heading back to the New York Jets for his 4th year there. And the legend Dan Schmeeker stepping down as head football coach at Bismarck St. Mary's. More on each of those stories coming up later today on our newscast. Thanks to our guests today, to Jeff Kolpak and to Tyler Roll. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Everybody enjoy your Monday. It's draft week. We're back here all week. We'll see you then on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
When you need to stay informed, turn to the only name that matters, WDAY Storm Tracker.
The melt is on.
Cities are preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. Volunteers are hard at work. You can see people in the background there filling sandbags.
It is very important for people to get out and volunteer.
You can see the flooded ditches in the area.
Now, of course, we're keeping a very close eye on how this rain is going to impact flooding.
For full coverage, turn to the WDAY Storm Tracker team. Join WDAY Sports for NFL draft coverage, live from Hankinson, North Dakota. Live interviews with NFL hopefuls and much more as the community prepares for Cody Mauch's future in the NFL. Only on WDAY Extra, Friday at 6:30.
I've been a GH fan my entire life.
I love the TAM fam.
I still think about the time I was at Port Charles.
I don't believe it. But you can believe our shows are on back to back.
GH fans and the TAM fam love a good story.
Weekdays at 1 p.m. and 2 p.m.
More than 1 in 10 Americans live in poverty. A grandmother chooses between heat and her medication. A man, cold and stoic, silently cries for help. A mother skips a meal so her child gets an extra helping. Newcomers escape conflict, only to struggle to find their footing in the U.S. This year, Catholic Charities agencies will serve more than 15 million people in need. Join us as we lift our sisters and brothers out of poverty. Because this isn't a handout, it's a hand up. Learn more at reducepoverty.org. Together, we are changing lives.
Happy Monday. Live look outside in downtown Fargo, and look at that. We have some puffy cumulus clouds, something we just do not see in the winter time, but when it comes spring, they return, and we'll have them all the way through the summer months going into the fall. And we'll have sunny skies with a few of those cumulus clouds drifting around, but it'll be a cooler day. Temperatures in the middle 40s. We'll talk about the forecast for today. But we do have more nice days ahead. Tomorrow doesn't look all too bad, but then as we head towards the rest of the week, a couple days we're tracking showers, both rain and, I'm just not going to say it. We'll talk about it.